Hello, welcome to Islas of the Fae. Finally, today I'm doing a deck showcase for my Reaper King. I like to say that this is probably my oldest deck. Um, I can't say favorite because all my decks are my favorite decks. I only have a few now. I've taken apart a lot and kept the ones I enjoy the most, but again, this is my oldest one. And I've actually had this altar. Um, I love altered cards, and this one actually is one of my oldest altars, and I've had it for a few years. I'd say this is actually one of my first few altars I've ever had done. So because of that, I feel like maybe starting off with this deck would probably be best, and also seeing as how Lorwyn Eclipsed is coming up, and I see a lot of cool changelings, which I guess spoiler alert, this is mostly a changelings deck. I mean, uh, how can you not do changelings with the Reaper King? It did first start off as a scarecrow deck, but it was kind of rough. I'm sure many of you know scarecrows are not the best, and I still wanted to enjoy playing the deck, so I did do changelings. Uh, Before I continue though, I apologize about my voice and if I'm sniffling a lot. The weather is not doing me any favors. So I probably could have waited to film this video, but an opportunity came where I was able to sit down and start filming. So I took it, and these are all the tokens that I need for the deck, which might spoil it a little bit. Again, let me show off the commander again. So if no one is familiar with this, it's a 5 mana, well, technically 10, but one of each color. Other scarecrows you control get +1/+1, and whenever another scarecrow enters the battlefield under your control, I get to destroy any permanent. That is any. Could be lands if it needs to be. But yeah, I'll start off with the creatures. So I do only have, I think, 3. So 2 actual scarecrows. I do have a third one that will come up. So 3 actual scarecrows in the deck. So I guess before I continue, this is also a theme deck. It's not just changelings. There is a second theme to it, which I will get to when we get there. This is pretty influenced by this altar. So I also felt like changelings kind of fit because, you know, Halloween Town, the Nightmare Before Christmas, there's a lot of different types of creatures. It's not just scarecrows. And I kind of wanted to stick with that, so I felt like changelings kind of fit that theme of The Nightmare Before Christmas. So yeah, I'm gonna have Scuttlemutt and Oasis Gardener. I do count them as ramp. So once we get to the ramp, you'll see actually I might be lacking a little bit, but 2 actual scarecrows. Plus a few changelings. You'll see that I do try to kind of make this deck a little fancy. So I have some cool alternate art versions of some of these classic cards. Amiibo Changeling. This is, I don't want to say it's a pet card, but I really love this art. I like even the ability. If I'm playing against someone else that's playing a tribal deck or typal deck, maybe I could shut down one of their creatures that matter the most. Maybe. Unsettled Mariner gives all my creatures kind of a ward, I guess. Changeling. I do have a bunch of just good old-fashioned changelings. Kind of do nothing, or they're just here because either there are changeling or I just like the way they look. Mirror Entity. I'd say this is probably one of the better ones. Can make my entire board pretty big. This one, Torian Mauler, changeling. Whenever an opponent has a spell, I may put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Can get very big, very quick. Chameleon Colossus. I had to get this from the Vault version because it kind of fits with some of the other newer, like what is it, like Double Rainbow. I think it looks cool. Protection from black. I mean, that's pretty good. There's a lot of people playing black decks. Can hit for a ton. Grave Shifter. ETBs returns another creature from a graveyard to my hand. Game Trail Changeling. Just trample. I do have a bunch of what are they called? Lords, which I will actually get to next, right after the changelings. Well Weaver Changeling gains me life. I don't really have that much life gain matters, but it's really cool. Moral Fawn, the Boundless. It enters, you choose creature type, choose whichever. Spells of the chosen type cost Woolberg less to cast. And other creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. And these are all the different creature types that matter in this deck. I try not to put too many, but there's quite a few, and you're gonna see these fairies. I'm actually gonna remove them because I am planning on building a fairy deck once I get my hands on some Lorwyn Eclipsed. So they're in here temporarily. I love fairies. I love fairy stuff. So yeah, I mean, I don't feel too bad removing these because actually, I'd say they're probably the weaker tribe out of the few that are in here. But again, I am building a separate deck just around fairies. This is the third Scarecrow. So when Swarm Weaver enters, I create two 1/1 black and green insect creatures with flying, and it's a lord for insects and spiders. Gives them +1/+1 and have death touch. Wick. So whenever it enters or another rat enters, I make a 1/1 snail if I don't have one. If I do have another snail, which changelings are snails, I instead put a +1 counter on one of them. And I could pay Grixis, so 1 black, 1 blue, 1 red, sacrifice a snail, and I deal damage to each opponent equal to its power, and draw them many cards. Which is very good with Tarian Mauler, of course. The Odd Acorn Gang, Menace Trample Reach, squirrels I control have tap it to give a creature +2/+2 and trample. Sadly, only in sorcery speed. But this is actually only in here because I'm a huge fan of this art. So this one might not stay. I don't know yet. Boja, scary commander, but in here actually have not played too much of it yet. I mean, to be honest, I only put this card in here because of that one Trigger Tree Sacred Lair that I didn't end up getting, but wanted to buy the singles for, but I still haven't gotten it. So I don't know. This one, pretty scary on his own. I'm pretty sure with these changelings can be very scary, but it actually hasn't come up too much. Umbrus, the Furby. I mean, all these changelings. I think this one will be pretty fun to play. So I'm not against secret layers. I'll get whichever one seems cool to me. And out of all of them, the Furby one, actually this horror version, the Furby one was actually really cool. So decided to get it and throw Umbrus in this deck. Evelyn, the Covetous. So again, the theme of the deck is heavily inspired by The Nightmare Before Christmas. There are a few vampires in the movie, so decided to throw this one in here. I didn't want to play Edgar Markov. I didn't need to. And Evelyn just seems a bit more on theme. You know, kind of stealing stuff from my opponents. Just seems fun. Hopefully, Ghostforge. Spirits you control get +1/+1 and have trample and haste. I don't have a lot of ways to give my creatures evasion or haste, stuff like that. So this one kind of helps. And also, whenever another creature I control dies, I exile it. Then I create a copy of it as a spirit. Then when that copy dies, I could return the original one back to the battlefield. Sorry, not to the. Whenever another creature, another non-token creature you control dies, exile it, and if I do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit, in addition to its other types. When this creature leaves the battlefield, I return that exiled card into my graveyard. So actually instead, I hopefully, if Reaper King is out, I'm able to get another trigger off the ETB. and Tendishu Dryad. Ascend. Ascend means if you control 10 or more permanents, you gain Ascend for the rest of the game. And at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green Saproling. Saprolings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the city's blessing. And you might be wondering, like, what, besides the changeling, what else ties them off? Of course, my only non-mana producing artifact, Maskwood Nexus. It's a must-have. In a deck like this, with a few different creature types, this is a must-have. Now, that's not all the creatures yet, and still have a few. This is gonna lead into the second theme of the deck, which is still gonna be a tribal deck, but also food. Makes food. This is kind of like Hofree, where if a creature I control dies, I could exile it and make a token of it, hopefully triggering off the Reaper King again. So again, food. Cares about a tribe, which in this case, dogs. Again, and also food. This one works very, very well with a few other cards. Kibo doesn't make food, but it does make bananas, which should be the same thing, but whatever, it's not. Cares about monkeys and giving your opponents food, or I guess bananas. Shalub. Death Touch, Ward 2. Other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. And whenever a creature and opponent dies, if it was dealt damage by a spider I control, I make a food token that's a copy of the creature that died, which can be very good. But again, food and spiders. Now the next few cards are more food specific. Now, why food? Whenever I think of the holidays, I think, snacks, delicious seasonal dinners. Some people consider The Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie, which it could be, I guess. I'd say it's a Christmas movie, but Halloween, trick-or-treats, food, candy. So yeah, that's why the second theme of the deck is food. And Tough Cookie. Love the art. The card is actually pretty good too. Now, does this theme or having two different themes work? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you could be drawing a lot of the cards that care about food, but you're not producing any food. Sometimes you could be drawing all the lords or typo stuff, and you have some food stuff. So it kind of sucks. Sometimes you're there like drawing and not really able to do much, but hey, this isn't trying to be a bracket 4 or 3. There are a few cards in here that are considered bracket that would make this deck a bracket 3 or 4. I think more of a 3. I don't think it's a 4. But again, with themes like these, it kind of needs help from some of the other cards. So, Regost. Again, I'm not gaining too much life in this deck, but food helps gain life, so it is possible to gain some life. Samwise Gamgee. Whenever another non-token creature I control ETBs, I create a food. Then I can sacrifice 3 food to return a historic card from my graveyard to my hand. I mean, I have lots of historic cards in my commander. I could put them in the graveyard and then bring them back instead of paying the commander tax. One of the few ways I have of drawing cards. Savvy Hunter. Peregrine Took. Makes me tokens of food whenever I create tokens. And another way to draw cards. Tireless Provisioner. Land ETB. I create a food or a treasure. Most of the time I try to make food, but you know, creating treasures is also very good. Greta Sweet Tooth. I'm a huge fan of this art. Love all the colors and everything. This card's okay. It's okay. This deck definitely needs upgrading, which I'm gonna do soon. Guillaume, Master Chef. Trample. So at the end of my turn, if a creature enters the battlefield under my control, I create a food equal to the amount of creatures that entered this turn. I could also pay 1 mana to sacrifice a food to give one of my other creatures indestructible until end of turn. And I tap it. And Igra, Eater of All. This one, I guess I should have kept. Where is he? These two are pretty good together, or very good together. Igra turns every creature on the battlefield into a food, in addition to the other types. Of course, Bernard cares about my creatures if they're food, or Golem gives them +2/+2 and trample. And yeah, this is one of those pretty cool interactions. And these kind of just don't care about tribes, mainly care about tokens, these specifically. This one, again, I am gonna remove it once I build a fairy deck. So not much to talk about. Glenalendra Archmage. I could sacrifice it to counter a spell. It has persist, so it comes back. If I have Maskwood Nexus, it'll trigger any ETBs for these lords or my commander. But these are the two that are specific to tokens. Turns my tokens into a 4/4 bear for 1 mana. Or Balin, I could tap 2 untapped tokens I control to make 1 mana of any color. I could tap 3 untapped tokens I control to draw a card. Or I could tap 4 untapped tokens to put +1, 3/+1 counters on Balin, and it gains trample until end of turn. Sometimes I make a bunch of tokens, sometimes I don't, sadly. Now, to go into the enchantments. Not a lot, but Bitter Blossom. Same thing that I've been saying about the fairies. We'll definitely switch this out. But for now, I wanted to put it in some deck because I love the signature, love this version. Ristic Study, the Game Changer one. I don't actually remember if there is any more Game Changers. It might just be this one. So wherever this is going, this is gonna go too. I have to keep them together. Just they look so nice. Black Market Connections makes me a changeling, draws me cards or treasure. This is, I would say, one of the better cards in this deck because it does it all. Makes me tokens, makes me changelings, draws me cards. Guardian Project. We're playing Commander, so I'm guaranteed to draw a card almost every time a creature enters the battlefield under my control, if it's not a token. Knight of the Sweet's Revenge. Turns all my food into ramp. Then I could sacrifice this to pump all my creatures if I need to. Definitely a closer. And Kindred Discovery. Again, this is going to go where the other ones go. But when it enters, I choose a creature type, and whenever a creature of that type enters or attacks under my control, I draw a card. Toxic Deluge, one of the few board wipes. The only board wipe I have. So when I cast this, I have to pay X life, and all creatures get negative X, where X is the amount of life I paid. Rite of Replication. One of, I'd say, my pet card. It's a card that I've always tried to put it in most of my blue decks, but sadly it does end up getting cut out most of the time. Not in this case, because I'm sure a lot of people know, or if you didn't, with the Reaper King, if you kick it targeting the Reaper King, each one sees the other one enter, so you end up getting a bunch of triggers. Being able to destroy, really you could just board wipe. I don't ever really go for lands unless I really need to, but if you want to be that kind of person, you could destroy everyone's lands or a bunch of lands. Yeah. Titanic Ultimatum. One of the finishers, I'd say. Also, I love cats, and I had this version, so I put it in here. And again, going with all the other the fairy cards. I target a creature, I give it negative X until end of turn. And when I cast this, if I control another fairy, that creature gets an additional -3. Mox Jasper, probably the only deck that this card would be good in, unless I build a dragon deck, but definitely do not have a dragon deck. Soul Ring, Commander Sphere, Chromatic Lantern. It's a 5-color deck. I feel like it's needed. I know people out there hate Chromatic Lantern or don't like it. I love this card. I don't care if it's a 3 mana rock that is too expensive now to cast, but not having to think of my lands, being able to just have this out there on my land stack for whatever mana I want makes it a lot easier. I could think of other things. Nature's Lore. Search tutors me a forest. Shard Convergence searches me for one of each land that is not a forest. And very much needed in a 5-color deck. As for lands, I mean, it's a 5-color deck. It's kind of out of order, but yeah, it's kind of your typical 5-color deck. I would say this deck isn't super budget, so it is running, let's see, one of each basic with these cool Eldraine lands. I don't know, I might actually switch them out for the Lorwyn ones, but these Eldraine ones also fit the theme. So I don't know, I might keep them. Yeah, just kind of your typical 5-color mana base. Running whatever lands I could that produce more than one color, or that could produce one of the colors. Running 4 of the triomes. My playgroup is proxy friendly, so I might end up switching out some of those lands for the original duels. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. The fetch lands. Not running all of them, but I feel like this is good enough. I usually don't have a problem with my mana base, luckily. And these two, at the beginning of the life of this deck, it did care a bit more about artifacts, so that's why these were in here. But I might definitely remove them once I update the deck, which is Cottage. Counts as a swamp, so I could, tutor it if I need to. And if I control 3 other swamps, I get to return a creature from my graveyard, put it on top of my library. Gingerbread Cabin counts as a forest, tutorable. And if I control 3 other forests, I create a food when it enters. Arena of Glory. So again, I don't have a lot of ways to give my creatures haste. This is one of them, if I need to. Command Tower. City of Brass. Getting the 1 damage dealt to me isn't too bad when I have food. Could just gain some of it back. The Roll Tree. This is with Mast Wood Nexus. Very good. Could be a closer as well. Being able to, even without Mast Wood Nexus, I could just tutor all the changelings, put them into the battlefield if I know I could win soon. Very good. And also helps me with my mana, because if I control 6 or more lands I control tap for any color, which is very good. Temple of the False God. It's okay. Yavimaya, Creative Growth. Turns all the lands into a forest in addition. So green is pretty prominent in this deck. Restless Cottage could turn into a creature, and when it attacks, it makes me food. And it also exiles a card from a graveyard, which can be good. Shifting Woodland. I like this card. I mean, if My Reaper King maybe is dying a little too much. I don't want to be casting him anymore. I could just let him die whenever he dies. Send him to the graveyard. And then just turn Shifting Woodlands into Reaper King if I need to. Or any other card. Can be also turned into a Maskwood Nexus if I needed to. Just very good. It's a very good land. Yep. That was the Reaper King deck showcase. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking around this long with my voice fucked. Yeah. I'll see you guys soon once Lorwyn Eclipsed comes out. I'll be definitely opening that as soon as I can. But yeah, this was Islas of the Fae. Peace.